Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Grow podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Marvel's Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Today I'm going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 18, Frenemy of My Enemy. I'm just going to be starting off with the plot summary so we have some idea of what happened in this episode, and then just talking about some of my general thoughts, some of the things I liked, some foreshadowing and Easter eggs I noticed. So let's just get started with that plot summary, which says... Coulson, Hunter Fitz, and Mike Peterson capture Ward and Agent 33 and make a deal to infiltrate Hydra in exchange for giving Ward a clean slate by wiping his memories. Ward uses the brainwashed Bakshi along with Mike Peterson to get close to List, and they learn that he has been tracking Gordon and seeks to capture him. S.h.i.e.L.D. intends to banish Cal from Afterlife, but Skye fears he may harm innocents, and she goes with him before calling May for help. Simmons hacks into Mike Peterson's cybernetic eye, and through his video feed, S.h.i.e.L.D. discovers that Coulson is working with Ward. May sends Bobby and Mac. As Cal is enjoying spending time with Skye, they discover that Lincoln is spying on them, and Cal realizes S.h.i.e.L.D.'s plan. Hydra tracks Gordon's movements to Cal's office and attack before Cal can do anything about Lincoln. Hydra captures Mike Peterson and Lincoln. Skye is almost reunited with Coulson, but Gordon takes her and Cal away. When Bobby and Mac arrive, Coulson surrenders to them. So that's the plot summary. This episode didn't have a whole lot happening until right at the end. It was a lot of setup. We were getting a lot of information about Hydra and them connecting some of the pieces. I enjoyed this episode for the little elements that we get, tying it into the MCU. They mentioned Strucker and Hydra, which is a big connection into Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, so that's a big connection. I know that this season ends off with a pretty big connection into that and dealing with that as well. So I enjoyed that part of it, but for the most part, this was another one of those talking episodes, which makes sense as you get into the end of a season. You gotta save some of that money, some of those effects money for that end budget, or for that end episode budget. But this one was still fun. We got to see Mike Peterson around. We got to see him and Lincoln kind of go head to head just a little bit. It was kind of interesting to see that, how he handled the electricity powers that Lincoln has. So that was kind of cool to see, and it's kind of interesting to see Lincoln kind of being a hothead and just hopping into it. It was nice to see Cal and Skye kind of bonding in this episode, even though he takes it exactly the way that she feared he would. But it was just poor handling the situation, and that's just because Cal's, a little unhinged. That's the problem with being Mr. Hyde. But yeah, I still enjoyed that part of it. I like that we see a little bit more of a conflict with Bobby and Mac being is Coulson the real enemy here? They get a little scene between the two of them talking about that. So I like that they kind of incorporate that into the show, that it's not just, flip of the dime, that they kind of have these thoughts of is Coulson actually the bad guy here? Shouldn't we be going after Hydra? But then the flip side of that being that they then see Coulson working with Ward, who is known Hydra, so it's just I just like the way this episode kind of sets up these next few episodes. I'll be ending off the season. But what else did I have written down? Hydra's after Gordon. We kind of mentioned that in the thing, but I like that it connects in. I like that S.h.i.e.L.D.'s kind of explaining where, kind of what's leading up into Avengers Age of Ultron, and so why Strucker was looking for powered people. The fact that he already had two of them in his own possession, but I like that they kind of are diving into the other aspects of that, and its connection to the MCU. And then the last thing I just had written down is that Skye learns her last name. She's Daisy Johnson. And I'm oh, this is where it starts. She soon shifts, I know, after one of the next few episodes, she shifts from being Skye to Daisy instead and going by Daisy. So I like that they just do that little nod with her, the way she learns her last name being that's on Cal's office door. So it's just kind of interesting, especially with him being it's kind of boring, but I changed it to something a little more sinister when I went out on the run and stuff. So I thought I like that little joke. And I like that's the way we kind of learned her last name. But that's all I really have for this in particular episode. Like I said, it was a lot of setup. But if there was anything I missed that you noticed, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today, guys, and have a good one.